With her voice cracking, 87-year-old Lee Yong-soo recounts her dark days.
전기 고문과 몽디로 때려서 전체 병실을 만들어놨습니다.
I was become so sick after electric shock and all the beatings and torture.
70 years later, with Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe preparing a historic address to U.S. Congress, she demands just one thing, an apology.
근데 아베는 거짓말이다. 그런 사람이 없다. 안 끄고 갔다 했습니다.
Now Abe is denying the truth, and he said he's lying, denying all the historical truth.
Lee Yong-soo is one of an estimated 200,000 or more women from China and South Korea forced into sexual slavery by the Japanese Imperial Army. Many Japanese politicians, including Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, say there's no proof of direct state involvement in kidnapping women for sex slavery. Kim Bak-dong, who was forced into slavery when she was 14 years old, has condemned Abe for the denial.
We were told we were going to a factory, but we found out that it wasn't. We didn't have a choice but to obey them, as we couldn't run away. Even though the witnesses are still alive, Abe is saying there is no evidence. Who could ever believe his daughter's words? There is proof.
Next Wednesday, Shinzo Abe will become the first Japanese prime minister to address the U.S. Congress. Protest groups in Washington are demanding he seek broader atonement for government and military crimes of the past.
Mr. Abe needs to acknowledge the historical facts in its entirety and offer an official apology rather than giving his emotional response to it as if he is just an innocent bystander without any guilt or responsibility.
24 House lawmakers wrote to Japan's ambassador to Washington on Thursday, urging Abe to address historical issues in his speech to lay the foundation for healing and reconciliation.
It would be appropriate to comment on the comfort women because the House, he will be speaking to a body that unanimously had called upon the Japanese government to unconditionally apologize.
Now activists say only a few dozen sex slave victims are still living, and that number is getting smaller. As for Lee Yong-soo, she said she will not rest in peace until the issue is resolved.
저는 아베 앞에 보이고 있었습니다. 역사의 산증인으로서.
I want to stand before Abe as a living witness of the history.
네, 엄연한 조선의 딸입니다.
I am the honorable daughter of Korea.
저는 위안부 아닙니다.
I'm not a comfort woman.
이용수입니다.
I'm Lee Yong-soo.
And in the run-up to the 70th anniversary of the end of the war, all eyes will be on Abe in Washington, especially in Beijing and Seoul, which are closely watching how Japan chooses to remember history. Chen Chen Chen, CCTV.